Welcome to the Shootin' Show. Stand by for shots fired.
Hello, I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of the Shootin' Show, and welcome to this week's program. And first of all, due to some comments and mail we had, no, this is not a rerun. I shaved my mustache off. I'm growing it back. But some people say, well, that was a while back. Now, sometimes we will rerun an especially interesting feature that we've had on the program at different times, but we typically don't do reruns. So anyway, we're so glad to have you with us this week. We're getting some rain here in Louisiana, so we have an indoor feature today, I suppose you'd call it that. We also have some great information. The judge is hot today. So anyway, well, let's let another Shootin' Show begin.
Welcome to the Shootin' Show and a quick visit with the Steyr TMP, a true machine pistol. Welcome to the Shootin' Show. I'm J.D. Jones, and this is the Steyr TMP machine pistol. This is a military and a police weapon. It is select fire. That is, it can fire semi-automatically and full automatic. The switch to control that is right here. Halfway across is semi-automatic. All the way across is full auto. All the way in that direction is on safety. It fires from a 30-round magazine, but we found it works a lot better if you just load 28. In loading 30, the spring tension was heavy, and there were a few failures to take the first round out of the magazine and chamber it. 28 rounds in the magazine, this did not occur. We're not going to get into a lot of detail. The idea of this is to show you a state-of-the-art polymer-type weapon that is made in Austria. It's imported by Gun South, and it's available for police and military usage only. Without this foregrip, it was originally imported as a semi-automatic only pistol. It's available that way in Europe now too. The pistol grip on the front should be used in full automatic fire. Without both hands on the gun and full auto, it's barely controllable. Being a true machine pistol, it's small, compact, lightweight, fires a 9mm Luger or 9x19 cartridge, is reasonably accurate up to about 50 yards or so on semi-automatic. We were able to keep our shots from arrest pretty well on 8-inch steel targets at 50 yards. But it's not meant to be a match pistol. It's meant to be a special purpose weapon intended for special forces people or police, such as an entry weapon. This is the magazine for the Steyr. It's a double column, double feed magazine. Loads quite easily by pushing the rounds straight in. These happen to be my 147 grain hand loads, and the Steyr didn't like them. It was not very accurate with them. However, with the Black Hills 124 and Black Hills 115, it was quite accurate. This is a 30-round magazine. We don't have it quite full. We're going to show you how to insert it in the gun and fire a few rounds full auto. Safety is now off. We're ready to go. That's it. We're empty. Sustained burst fire is not a good way to hit anything with a gun of this type, but everybody likes to see it. So we're going to show you what 28 rounds in a row looks like. That's all, folks. I'm standing about 10 yards from a silhouette target. It's an IPSC silhouette target, and we're going to try and give you an idea of the effectiveness of the TMP in a entry situation. Okay, here goes the second magazine. The Steyr TMP is available in this country only for military and police. You can't even own this one if you pay the $200 tax. It's a no-no. It'll never be in the hands of anyone other than military or police. We thought you might enjoy seeing it, though.
Now, friends, the Great Soldier of Fortune Convention is coming up in September 27 through October 1. And you know what a great time we've had out at the convention in the past. It's going to be held at the Sands Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada. I know a lot of you would really enjoy coming out and being with us at the convention. For information on the Soldier of Fortune Convention, give them a call, 1-800-800-7630. Again, 1-800-800-7630 for information on the Soldier of Fortune Convention.
When a cartridge weapon is discharged, a number of forces are generated and a great deal of energy is released. The idea of using these forces or the energy in order to cycle the weapon surfaced in the 1880s. Though many people worked on putting this idea to use, such as McLean, Lewis, and Hotchkiss, I would like to concentrate on two major contributors whose designs made a mark on the course of warfare. These are Hiram Maxim and John Browning. Maxim harnessed the recoil forces generated upon discharge in order to cycle the weapon. By the 1880s, he had some practical designs. Though they worked reasonably well, his automatic weapons became what we understand to be a machine gun only after the introduction of smokeless powder and jacketed bullets. You have seen these developments in a previous tape. By 1893, Maxim was selling perfectly functional machine guns. Among their first recorded uses was action in the Matabele War of that same year. The painting Brave Men depicts the death of Alan Wilson's Shangani Patrol. The patrol was an advance element of Forbes's mobile column. After the Nabili had annihilated Wilson, their 7,000-man army advanced on Forbes, who credited his salvation to the Maxim machine gun. Maxim worked at refining his designs, and by 1908, the Maxim machine gun had been adopted by Germany and was made under license there. The same weapon was adopted and manufactured in England, where it was known as the Vickers. John Moses Browning had been working on another method of cycling an automatic weapon using the very same gases which propelled the projectile. His first workable designs were made by Colt Marlin and used in the Spanish-American War. When the bullet passed a hole or gas port located underneath the barrel, gas escaped and pressed on a lever. The lever rode all the way back and then was pushed forward by a spring, thereby completely cycling the weapon. For obvious reasons, this gun was nicknamed the Potato Digger. As war clouds loomed, Browning quickly branched aside and designed a machine gun using Maxim's short recoil idea, since short recoil was a good bit more compatible with water cooling. Without getting into French or Austrian variations, you can safely assume that every major combatant in World War I entered the war with a machine gun. The capabilities of all of them were quite similar. I will use this Browning 1917 water-cooled as a good example. Most of these weapons fed from a belt. As the belt was pulled through the machine gun by these feed pawls, individual rounds were pulled back out of the belt and then positioned on the bolt so that they would be next in line for chambering and firing. The Browning and the Maxim worked on the short recoil principle. In this method, the barrel, bolt, and barrel extension remain locked together after discharge and travel a short distance to the rear. After the bullet exits the barrel, the bolt then unlocks, sliding independently to the rear. The bolt comes back far enough so that the old cartridge case is extracted and ejected, and a new cartridge is placed in position. The bolt then travels forward, chambering the cartridge, and fires again as long as the trigger is held down. The Maxim, Browning, and many others were water-cooled. The barrel was surrounded by a water jacket holding approximately 5 quarts of water. After 600 rounds of continuous fire, the water would be brought to a boil and steam would exit through a steam bleed-over valve down through this hose into a condenser bucket. The second assistant gunner kept refilling the jacket as water would boil away at the rate of 1 quart for every 250 rounds. Though the water did boil away, it was recovered in the condenser bucket. It also stabilized the operating temperature of the weapon and allowed continuous, sustained fire. All of these weapons were extremely accurate and fired their rounds into a very small group, which, in machine gun terminology, is called the beaten zone. As an assist, they were equipped with a micrometer traversing and elevating mechanism so as to enhance their long-range accuracy. They also were chambered for the full-powered rifle cartridges of the nations involved, such as the 30-06 or 8mm Mauser. Let's see what this Browning can do. In its first target run, you'll see a silhouette target on top of a 4x4 fence post and 2 real sly buggers hiding behind a cinder block wall. That's pretty impressive. The Browning fired such a small group that it had no problem cutting down the 4x4 post in short order. Both the wall and the 2 guys hiding behind it took a severe drubbing. This latter target illustrates a point. A wall, unless it is solid masonry, is no real protection against small arms fire from full-powered rifle cartridges.
Stay tuned for more of the Shootin' Show after these important messages.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
You know, Carrie, I think it's as important for you ladies to know how to use these firearms as it is for us men. But you know, there's something else. We can have firearms for defense of our homes and certainly for sport, but we also need information.
Yes, I agree. I think the New American Magazine is the best source of information available in this country.
Well, I would certainly agree. The New American Magazine is the truth and nothing but the truth. And friends, if you would like to know what is really going on in this country and around the world, if you want, in fact, the truth, well, you need to get the New American Magazine. So here's how to do it.
You can get the New American by calling 1-800-727-TRUE-TRUE. And those numbers, of course, are 1-800-727-8783. The New American, $22 for a 6-month subscription. It comes twice a month.
Now, friends, with your new Shootin' Show subscription, they will also send you a free copy of what the United Nations is bringing to all of us. So this is very important. Subscribe today. You know, friends, in times like these, which indeed are strange times, we certainly need our firearms, but we also need the information about what's really going on. Order today.
Next, we'll engage a group of targets in the open using the traversing and elevating mechanism and a final assault of targets online. See if you can spot some advantages and disadvantages of the water-cooled. The advantages of the water-cooled machine gun are quite obvious. It is extremely accurate, can fire at very long ranges, and has a very high sustained volume of fire. In fact, the water-cooled machine gun is unique among machine guns in that its sustained volume of fire is just about the same as its cyclic rate. The Maxim and the Browning both had usable volumes of fire on the order of 500 rounds per minute, and both had combat ranges well in excess of 2,000 yards. The water-cooled machine gun truly was the next best thing to being there. This tremendous capability is not free. For starters, the weapons are expensive to manufacture. You can see all of the very small yet very finely machined parts in this Maxim. Though the Browning was a good bit simpler, both weapons required major industrial investment. The crews for the weapons had to be large and highly trained. Highly trained because of the requirement for maintenance before and during firing, such as headspace, and spring tension adjustments. The crew had to be large because there were many other jobs to be done. Also, the water-cooled machine gun weighed well over 100 pounds, not counting water and ammunition. When broken down, it took at least 3 men to carry it. It also took a long period of time, 3 minutes or so, in order to get the weapon properly placed in position. You should have noted that we had 11 sandbags stacked on the Browning when we fired it. The extra weight of the sandbags helped damp out the vibrations of recoil and was a requirement if one was to take advantage of both the accuracy and the high sustained volume of fire. This does not tell the full story. Someone had to load the cloth belts with ammunition. This required a separate machine, such as this Browning cloth belt loader. The cloth belts had to be saved by one of the crew members. They were washed, dried, and then protected from mildew. They could not be loaded too far in advance, or the cloth would stretch and the cartridges would fall out. The advantage to the cloth belt is that it is much easier on the machine gun and does contribute to the overall reliability. The small beaten zone of the water-cooled machine gun translates to an extremely long adjust sight range. It was the job of the gunner to adjust sights for range and to compensate for wind drift. However, the gunner could normally not properly spot the fall of his rounds. Another individual with binoculars spotted the fall of the rounds. The vertical portions of the reticle on the binoculars that you use today are leftovers from that era. They are based on a logarithmic scale and were used for adjusting the fall of long-range machine gun fire on the ground. For the really long ranges, something over 15 or 1600 yards, plus for indirect machine gun fire, that is, placing bullets down into a trench or into dead space behind a hill, even more equipment was required. Every crew carried a clinometer, which was used for adjusting the elevation of the machine gun in mills as specified in the firing tables. The effect of the water-cooled machine gun is common knowledge. The trench warfare of World War I can be attributed to the water-cooled machine gun along with the bolt-action magazine rifle and the new breed of artillery. Between these three, no man's land really was a place where no man could survive. As the British learned when they marched forward up the Somme, long-range machine gun fire was a force to be reckoned with and could inflict a horrendous number of casualties in a very short period of time. We need not go further into World War I, for you'll study that in much greater detail. When you do, remember what you have just seen about the water-cooled machine gun. How would you like to charge across no man's land through the barbed wire in the face of a water-cooled machine gun?
You know, friends, this box of Corbin ammunition and this Wesson 41 Magnum are in fact a perfect match for each other. But it doesn't matter whatever gun you may have, like this SKS or a hunting rifle or a 38 Special or a 9mm makes no difference, because Corbin is absolutely the best factory ammunition that money can buy, period. And also, friends, when you see a box of Corbin on the shelf or you give them a call, realize that Corbin is helping keep the shooting show on the air. They've been one of our most dedicated sponsors. You cannot find finer people in the entire shooting industry. For information on Corbin ammunition, call them 1-800-626-7266. Again, 1-800-626-7266. Tell them you saw it on the Shooting Show. Well, friends, we hope you're enjoying our program. You'll see this young gentleman here on my right, on your left. And I'm here to report that we've had phone calls, letters, telegrams, faxes, threats, if we didn't get you back on the program here shortly. You've been gone now for 2 weeks. And I have said twice on 2 shows in a row at the beginning of the program when I was out there taping, the judge has some great things to say, and then it turned out that I think you need to explain something here, sir. We have some angry people out there.
Well, 2 weeks ago, I was ill. In fact, I was ill enough where Johnny drove me home. I don't know what from, because I felt fine the next day. Last week, I had a client that just had a terrific emergency. And I guess that's one of the things that irritates me about government, particularly the feds, but it works all the way through down to every level. They just seem to have the idea, the feds in particular have the idea, we're bigger than you are, and so we're going to do this, and what you going to do about it? Besides, we got the A-bomb. Now, that's just their attitude.
Well, I'm afraid that you're correct in so many instances we've talked about, especially the federal types.
Well, they did it up at Ruby Ridge. Of course, now it's cost the federal government, and that means you, the taxpayers, $3.1 million in damages to the Weaver family.
Have we heard an apology yet?
None that I've heard. The articles that I have all say it shouldn't have happened. Lord, I knew that.
Well, I think that is one of the more outrageous things that government has done. That is finally, look how long did it take this to come out? How long did it take the uproar to get so bad that it could no longer be ignored? How long?
It was quite a while. It was 2 or 3 years. My darling daughter, who is in Boise, Idaho, clips things out of the Boise newspaper to send to me. And, of course, there's more in the Boise newspaper about what happens in Idaho than there is in the Louisiana,
Well, sure.
Shreveport, Louisiana paper. This one says, Vicki Weaver death wrong, report finds. My goodness, I wonder how long it took them. 3 years to figure that out, plus the threat of a Senate investigation. Now, I'm not a great admirer of Senator Spectra, but I am happy that he's holding these hearings, and on the threat of these hearings and the hearings actually being scheduled, the government finally came to terms with the Weaver family. I think inadequate. $1 million apiece for each one of the 3 children, surviving children. $100,000 to Randy Weaver. That's for the death of his son and his wife. I think that's ridiculous.
That's absurd.
I think it's absolutely ridiculous. We have a case here in Shreveport where a man was turned down for a handgun initially, and then they rechecked it and it was okay. In the meanwhile, before he could pick it up, he was killed. That's
where was Sarah Brady? Wonder where
I don't
she
know,
was.
but I think she ought to have to be a pallbearer. Really, it's this Brady bill, as far as I know, hadn't prevented any crimes, and it's resulted in this death. Incidentally, the NRA heard about it and asked me to fax this to them, which I did. I guess it'll be in some issue of the magazine as time goes on. We had an election seminar here with the NRA conducting a seminar. I went. They didn't say anything I didn't already know, but then I've been active in politics now for a good many years. I did fuss at them about not supporting the shooting show.
Well, good. They need to be fussed at.
Well, I had plenty to say about that. That the NRA hadn't done anything toward supporting a show except they put a similar one on the air, but I doubt if they're reaching 30 million households.
Well, there's this
a
war
week.
talk show, and that's...
And I don't know if it's a talk show. I never have seen it. I haven't found any place where it was being run. Of course, I haven't seen our show on there either.
Well, you don't have a satellite dish in our local cable, of all places, but But, sir, let me tell you what, we're getting on more and more cable companies and local TV stations every week. We do hear from new carriers, and we do appreciate that so much. We also appreciate our huge satellite audience because, you know, in the beginning, no network would even talk to us, and we decided that we would try a basic satellite uplink and see what happened. And, of course, here we are with actually a gigantic satellite audience, and we do appreciate every last one of you folks, sincerely.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
Tri-tote's real easy to use because all you have is a hook on your waist and you have another hook on a strap. Okay, so all you're doing is you're hanging your gun up like you would on a peg gun rack. There is never anything attached to your equipment when you use a tri-tote. Okay, you just set the gun with one hook behind the trigger guard and the other hook on the barrel. To use it, you just push in on towards your chest, pick the gun up to shoot it. Basically, you got 7 different positions anywhere you want to range the barrel of the gun by just taking it off. It's a piece of Velcro strap onto a Velcro shoulder pad. You just put the gun into it, pick it up and shoot it any way you want. I know a lot of people like to walk around with their gun over their wrist. In this position, tucked up under your arm, it's real comfortable, except it breaks your wrist. Set the gun with the hook in front of the trigger guard, and you got the same position, except your hands free always. And what you want to do is you can take your trigger finger right at the trigger guard, pick the gun right up off the pod, and then you got it ready to shoot. Okay? The other position that you have is when you set the butt of the gun right on the hook on the side, and you can just hold your gun for field shooting in this manner, or you can just rest it back on your shoulder, shrug your shoulder, hit the gun, catch it, and the gun comes up. It's that simple to use. A lot of people like to go out riding on their four-wheeler and their ATV or climb into their deer stand or drag their deer. You got a securing strap that just peels back. All you do is set it on the barrel of the gun, wrap the barrel up, and you have a little securing loop down here on the pod. Okay? You take that and you secure that right over the hook of the gun, so you're securing the top and the bottom. You can ride your four-wheeler, you can climb your tree stand in this manner. If you'd like to pull out your deer, you can open your waist belt up, drop your right hand down through your straps, bring your left hand back up through it. The gun immediately goes on your back. Buckle it up. Take away any of that slack. You don't want that. Just readjust it. Pull it up tight on your back, and that's the most secure back carry you'll ever have. You can drag your deer out any way you want to drag your deer out. Climb your hands, use your binoculars. You're always hands-free with the tri-tote.
Now, friends, due to the success and tremendous sales of the tri-tote, they've been able to increase their production and get the price down. Now, for our Shootin' Show audience, they're $29.95 plus $6.50 shipping and handling. Give them a call, 1-800-231-1443. Again, 1-800-231-1443. Everyone that carries any sort of firearm or fishing rod or whatever in the woods, this is really a great thing everybody ought to have.
But I'm going back to what I told the NRA, how many years ago? Almost 20 years ago. They had to quit simply reacting to what happened and get active in politics and get their candidates elected. I was particularly at that time urging that they get active and help Reagan get elected. And that was 4 years before Reagan was actually elected. Actually about 4.5 years. I was pushing for Reagan being nominated in place of Ford. and Ford got it and couldn't get elected. And then Reagan came along and beat Jimmy Carter. We have some information from the NRA Fax Network. They do put me on their fax network. FBI Director Louis Freeh, apparently a former federal judge, allegedly is extremely pained over recent allegations surrounding the FBI's mismanagement of the 1992, that's it, 1992, Ruby Ridge raid. Freeh noted that above and beyond his personal torment over this situation, his own distress pales in comparison to the anger and sense of frustration that something like this could happen. Well, join the club, Louis Freeh, join the club, because we're appalled at it ourselves, too. This that Director Freeh is referring to is serious allegations that senior FBI officials involved in the Ruby Ridge raid, Ruby Ridge tragedy, covered up the truth surrounding what happened to Mr. Weaver's cabin 3 years ago. He has pledged absolutely swift and firm action to restore the public's confidence in the FBI. I got a suggestion.
What's that?
I've got a suggestion. That group has just gotten a little bit too trigger happy. They ought to be disarmed.
Good idea.
They ought to be disarmed. The
Good
FBI
idea.
is a Federal Bureau of Investigation, not the Federal
They're
Bureau.
not a police agency, are
They're
they?
not a police agency. There's no
supposed
such
to be.
thing as national police. They can investigate. They can report to the U.S. attorneys. They can report to local law officials if that's appropriate, but they have no business making the arrests or having SWAT teams go in. That is really the best idea, is just simply disarm them. I don't care. They can carry sidearms for their own personal protection, but they don't conduct raids. And that goes for the BATF, too.
Well, that's right. Who appointed them to be a police agency, to go around shooting people? You know, that's
They're
our
supposed to be a
question.
regulatory agency, and that's fine. That's fine. If they find violations of the law, they can report it to appropriate police agencies. Incidentally, we're one vote better off in Congress.
How's that?
Mel Reynolds has been found guilty of multiple charges of sexual misconduct, obstruction of justice, and he has resigned from the House of Representatives, and he was a vehemently anti-gun representative.
Well, that's one for our side. One more.
I don't care whether they hang him for being a sheep or a goat, either one. He's rid of him, and that is an improvement. They say Mississippi runoff elections will be held Tuesday, August 29th. NRA has endorsed Democratic Representative Charles Waldrop in one House district, and Joe Elzey in House District 88, and Republican Brad Locke in Senate District 52. I suppose that our viewers in Mississippi have gotten the NRA information on that. Incidentally, tomorrow, the next day, and the day after, 3 days, is Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. This is Labor Day, incidentally, everybody. That's why I'm in my informal dress. These are the filing dates for the Louisiana House of Representatives, the Louisiana Senate, the Louisiana Governor, and all of the other state officials, statewide officials, and perhaps a lot of parish officials, too. You people out there in the hinterlands need to know that parishes are counties where you come from. We've got some other elections coming up. They'll be next year, when, of course, we'll be in full swing on the Senate and House elections. But most of the people who have announced that they're not candidates for re-election voted for the crime bill, voted for the Brady bill, voted for the anti-gun legislation, and so far the terrorism bill is stalled in the House, and let's hope to heaven that it stays stalled there, because it's got some very serious things wrong with it.
Dangerous things. You know, of course, you and I have talked about that at length, but we just don't think the federal government needs any more power than what they've got. In fact, they need to be reeled back in some.
Oh, incidentally, for those of you who have written to me, I have mailed to you the letters I've gotten. Johnny picks them up at the post office, and I get them about 2 weeks later. For those letters that I have gotten, you have gotten the copies of the cover-up at Oklahoma City, or it's been mailed. So it is in the mail to you. I appreciate the money that people have sent. It cost me more to mail the darn things than I thought it was going to cost. It's got to go first class, and that's just That's just expensive mail.
Well, that is such a terrific, folks, if you have not seen the New American Magazine, one, you ought to subscribe immediately. But the judge has, he ordered a case of copies, and you've still got a few of those left, I think.
I still have a few left, and if people will write me, and I need at least a couple of dollars for them. A few people have been nice enough to send $5, and that's great because that enables me to take care of the deficiency for others. And even for a few that didn't send any money, I've still gotten those out too. And if I end up losing a few bucks on it, it won't make any difference. It's not going to break me.
But that is really a wonder. It's really it's an eye-opening, at the very least, series of articles in that New American Magazine.
It's an excellent article, excellent. Backed up by color photographs, detailed photographs. I have another fact from the NRA. You know, we've gotten a lot of publicity recently about the NRA losing a lot of members. Well, they raised their dues, and they projected a 15% drop in membership. It only dropped 8%, and revenue from sustaining members increased from $29 million in the first 6 months of '94 to $34 million for the first 6 months of the year. You know, the new building that NRA has in, I believe it's in Fairfax, Virginia, was bought for a third of its cost. Apparently it was on the market, and a third of what it cost to build it. And in July, NRA experienced a net gain of over 2,000 new members a day. There are now more than 3.2 million members, and the rolls are increasing.
You know, I do find it interesting. I just want to kind of throw in this after what you said earlier. It seems like, and we are the #1 gun television program in the world. It seems like the NRA would want to work with us just a little bit, doesn't it?
Well, some of our viewers who are NRA members ought to write the NRA and, for lack of a better word, gripe.
You know,
about
I
it.
called them up one day. I said, "Hey, don't you people do guns? Isn't that what you're about?" You know, and the bureaucracy is sometimes rather difficult to work with them. But we support them anyway.
Every now and then you can get a reply. For example, when they endorsed that anti-gun congressman down in South Texas, chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, what was his name? Jack Brooks.
Yeah.
When they endorsed Jack Brooks for re-election after he had pushed the crime bill through and the assault gun ban and all that, I went through the ceiling. I sent a fax to him. I said, as a life member, I demand that you retract that endorsement. And you realize I got a phone call the next day?
Yeah.
It does do some good to let your feelings be known, as long as you make them known in unmistakable terms. They eventually, I think because a lot of other people did the same thing, not just because of me, they eventually withdrew that endorsement. And Stockman, who was elected in his place with the assistance, incidentally, of Gun Owners of America, he says, incidentally, he couldn't have been elected without the help of Gun Owners of America. Stockman is one of our staunchest members in the House of Representatives, along with Helen Chenoweth, who's a representative from Idaho, and
Who's just excellent.
for whom I've already drummed up some votes in Idaho for her.
Well, should we mention, if there are political candidates out there who would like some coverage on our program, and 30 million households a week is no joke. If you would like some coverage, well, I wish you'd please let us know. You can call us on our 800 number, 800-895-7916, or you can write to us here at the program, The Shootin' Show. Go ahead.
All right, I want just one thing. Let us know what your attitude is on being pro or anti-gun.
Right.
And incidentally, if you're anti-gun, we'll put you on air too. We'll give you some publicity.
Sure. Just let people know where you stand.
We are absolutely nonpartisan in this. We will tell the truth about whoever you are, if we can find out what it is. I don't always.
That's
I don't
right,
always
because our
find out.
people, that's right. Well, if you're anti-gun, our people need to know it. Our people need to make their decision based on someone's attitude toward our issue, because we feel like that gun ownership is a cornerstone not only of our freedom, but of our continuing of our very country as in the present state. You have a comment about Hillary off in and going to China. Do you have a comment you'd like?
I don't care. She can stay in China as far as I'm concerned.
Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station. You know, friends, all of us as shooting enthusiasts should be subscribing to Shotgun News, the trading post for anything that shoots. 3 big issues monthly with literally thousands and thousands of firearms bargains. Give them a call, 1-800-345-6923, a very inexpensive subscription price. Again, 1-800-345-6923. Subscribe today. Friends, we hope you're enjoying our program today. Let me mention our health club to you because so many people are starting to have such great results of some of these products. Friends, if you want to feel, it certainly made me feel about 20 years younger as far as the way I feel, certainly. It is absolutely a great opportunity. And also, we have some opportunities if you would like to make some extra money, if you'd like to get involved with our products. Well, please give us a call. You can call us our 1-800 number, 1-800-895-7916. Leave your name and number. We'll get some information out to you. We'll have someone contact you. And please, if you haven't been contacted in the last several days since you called, well, don't worry. We're going to get to you eventually. Our staff is small, and if somehow or another you think we might have lost your phone call because we're getting so many calls, please call us back. That's perfectly all right. We're glad to hear from you. We also have a new product. We have an air purifier. You know, each one of us inhales about 15,000 quarts of air per day. Now, that's a lot, and we have the most fantastic air purifier I've ever heard of. And if you have an allergy problem or anything like that, be sure and ask about that. We'll be happy to get you information on it. So please, friends, if you want to feel better, if you want to give yourself another chance, how many times have you heard it said, if I knew then what I know now, but I felt like I did then? So here's your chance from a tremendous number of you out there for you to feel like you did then, but you know what you know now. So please give us a call, 1-800-895-7916, Shootin' Show Health Club. Friends, for information on the Shootin' Show Health Club, give us a call, 1-800-895-7916. Leave your phone number, your address. We'll have someone get back to you immediately. Again, the Shootin' Show Health Club, 1-800-895-7916. Friends, let's do it today.
I've noticed in this last week there has been an awful lot of television coverage about the 50th anniversary of the surrender of Japan.
Yes.
And I noticed an awful lot of conversation about people criticizing Harry Truman. Now, understand, Harry Truman wasn't my favorite president, but he has an everlasting place in history on the good side for his decision in that regard. I've heard a lot of griping about people saying, well, it was immoral to use the A-bomb. You better just be thankful that we're the ones that developed it. First. The Germans were trying, the Japanese were trying, they just weren't successful. And somebody asked a Japanese general here not too long ago, if they had developed it, would they have used it? And he said, well, why wouldn't we have used it? Now, let me tell you, the people that are griping about it fall into one category. There are people who either weren't there or who didn't have members of their family there. Mm-hmm. I can tell you that. Now, it's easy to criticize when you aren't the one at risk. I was close by. I wasn't far away. I had many friends who were very close by. And I'm telling you, not a single one of them disagrees with the use of the A-bomb. It brought that war to a close.
Well, not only did it save a tremendous number of American lives, it actually saved a tremendous number of Japanese lives.
Well, these people are all saying that the Japs were ready to surrender anyhow.
That's not true.
But that's not true, and the records show that they weren't ready to surrender. They were prepared for a house-by-house defense of their home islands, and were standing orders out to prisoner of war camps. 140,000 prisoners of war, Americans, British, and Australian, probably mostly American, to execute the 140,000 prisoners the minute their home islands were invaded. That's reason enough.
You bet.
Well, I know I've got a lot more to say, but I don't know what it is.
Well,
Somebody in one of these letters asked me for this copy of the letter from the explosives expert other than General Parton. And if I can find your letter among this group, I will send it. Somebody asked me to mention their name on the program. I've forgotten who that was. There have been so many of them. I sent a form letter out to you all. I'm sorry, I just don't have the time to individually answer these letters. And what I said in that form letter is absolutely true.
well, you sent a heartfelt form letter because you read it to me, and I think people will receive that very well. I see here you have a copy of that information. Is that what that is, PIN? We did get a comment from, did you want to correct that comment from the editor of the PIN? He misunderstood something you said.
Well, he didn't really misunderstand it. What I said after I read his first newsletter was, at first blush. Now remember, that just means your initial impression. That doesn't mean that's what sticks. I said at first blush, he appears to be a little paranoid. But, you know, even paranoid people have enemies.
That's right.
And
you certainly were not accusing him of being paranoid. You just said
no, I wasn't really accusing him of being paranoid. It was just the way that the thing was presented to start with. That's a first impression that you get from it. Incidentally, the Private Intelligence Network, PIN Network, newsletter number 4 is even stronger. I mean, it's really strong. I think we gave an address for that, but I didn't. I don't have it with me. I'll try to give it next week. He didn't know that we were going to publicize his letter, and somebody sent him a tape, and that's how he found out that I said at first blush that he appears a bit paranoid. But like I said, you know, even paranoid people have enemies, and there are a lot of. He says he's not paranoid, he's just cautious. Well, all right, I'll buy that. He said he's had threats on his life. Even Strom Thurmond, who I once had the pleasure of voting for president of these United States, turned him in to the FBI or to somebody for investigation after he read some of his newsletters. Nothing happened, but really, I think anybody has a chance to say whatever they want. We've got all sorts of communist front, or did have all sorts of communist front organizations in this country, and everybody that blessed them down got called Red Baiter or what have you. Remember how Alger Hiss was the holy of holies until he was unmasked.
Alger Hiss, incidentally, wrote the Constitution for the United Nations. Am I correct?
He was very instrumental in that. I don't know that he wrote it all.
Very instrumental.
He had a lot to do with the formation.
And he was a convicted Soviet spy. Am I correct on that?
I don't know what the legal result of it was. I know that it turned out that that's what he was. Incidentally, the father of the A-bomb, the man who was head of the research laboratories there, what was his name? Famous physicist?
Not Oppenheimer.
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 Oppenheimer was had some pink leanings too. Really, this country has always prospered on the idea of letting everybody have their say. That came to us from the British. that, and they set up soapboxes in Hyde Park where people could get up on the soapbox and talk if people would listen to them. And some British orator, some British statesman said, I disagree completely with what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it.
Well, that's the thing. If everything's presented, our problems here in our own country, the organized news media, so much of the, especially television and media and radio like NPR, things like that, are so biased, and they don't want the opposing side. They only want their side to be brought out, and this is one of the dangers that we have been facing for many years. You know, you can say about anything you want to, and people will pick out the truth if they hear the truth and it's presented properly.
Well, the problem, Johnny, is to get to the truth. For
That's
example,
right.
We've got one state senator running for re-election right now, and I've seen some of his television advertisements saying that he did what he said he was going to do. That is a crock of baloney. I have a copy signed by him of his questionnaire to the NRA saying that he disapproved of any additional gun laws, thought that some of them ought to be repealed, and the first thing he does down there is to introduce a bill to repeal Roy Brunn's concealed carry bill. And got it through the state Senate. I was down there at the House of Representatives when it came up before the House committee, and he was going to present it to the House committee, and I called his hand on it. And I told him I was going to call him a hypocrite in front of everybody, and he withdrew his bill. Now, he'll probably answer this time, oh yeah, I voted for the statewide concealed carry bill. Sure he did, after he was whipped the other way around. He said he didn't consider that to be a gun control bill.
Oh, well, what you're saying in a lot of cases, honest politician is somewhat of an oxymoron. Is that right?
Well, I don't like to condemn
Because there are some good ones.
I don't like to condemn politics in general, because when you don't have politics, you really got a bad situation. You've got a dictatorship or an oligarchy of some kind. But I condemn politicians that say one thing and then do another. I don't like double talk. How'd they call it in George Orwell's book? Double speak. Yeah, double speak. We are surrounded by doublespeak. And the problem is that people get into trouble when they say one thing and mean another, or when they mean one thing and say another. It's just, it's appalling. It's absolutely appalling to me.